So the discussion that you guys just had on your book club book is the last of the discussions that you'll have together as a group called a book club. And from here on out, you'll still be sitting with the same people. You'll still be chatting with them and connecting with them about what you're reading. But everybody can choose to read a brand new book starting today if you want. Now, for some of you, this is great timing because you just finished a book and it makes sense to pick up a new one and try something new. And for others of you, you're halfway or partway through a really good book that you want to finish reading. I would recommend that you do that. Finish it, take it through to the end, and then try a new book. So we're doing this as a workshop now where you get to make some choices about what you want to read. And you aren't sort of held accountable for coming in to talk with a group the next day about the very same chapter. You can read at your own pace. So for some of you, that's going to feel pretty freeing, right? There's like this freedom to not being like, I have to get to page 95 or whatever. So what I would like you to do, though, is to make a goal for yourself. And some people cringe whenever they hear me say that they need to set goals. I'm not asking you to make a page number goal necessarily because I'm expecting that tonight or over the weekend you're reading for about 30, 45 minutes total. But what I do want you to make a goal for is what you plan to set as your focus for that reading. And I also want you to construct a page of notes on your reading, just in the same way that we've practiced with fiction texts. But before you do that, I want you to set a goal for what those notes will be about. So please label the top of the next blank page in your notebook with the phrase goal setting 116, or maybe get more specific and call it nonfiction goal setting 116.
You mean 126?
126, that's what I mean. Thanks a lot for always being there to catch me when I fall, guys. You've got some choices to make. This week, we've studied 5 different topics in nonfiction chapter books. So to make the most of your nonfiction chapter books, everything behind me is what we've practiced. If you are about to pick up a brand new nonfiction text today, you might want to start by making this blue one your goal, which is to orient yourself to the book, to generate questions and ideas about what you expect to learn. And we talked about how you do that by looking into the front matter of the book, reading the first flap, looking at any illustrations that come with the title page, looking into the table of contents to decide what is it that I think that this book might be about. Now, for many of you today in our book pass, you're going to read the front matter in the book pass already to decide if it's a book you want to read. And for some of you, you can kind of fast forward through the orienting yourself and dig deeper into the next step, which is noticing which parts of the book are fascinating to you and then mulling them over. That's what we were doing earlier this week. Like when you read, what stands out to you as super fascinating, and then think about how that connects to central ideas. So that could be one of your goals too. We've definitely focused this week on determining possible central ideas, and then in your book clubs, you were narrowing those down to think about which ones were really the most important. And I heard some groups kind of debating about, well, this was the central idea I noticed, and then I heard people saying, yeah, definitely, but I was wondering if this one seems to stand out as more important. So think about what are the possible central ideas. That would make a great goal for those of you who are partway through your book already. This one is one of my favorites because it's so visual. I love the idea of, remember when we were saying, think about making a movie in your mind about the characters in your book? I call them characters because they're actual people who really lived. But what scenes could you see happening if your book turned into a movie? And maybe do some note-taking about what that would look like. So getting some visuals and considering how those stories, that movie version, could show the central ideas that you're noticing. What would you probably use as a strategy in your notes when you're seeing a scene, you're seeing events and characters, and then you notice that that relates to a central idea? What would you use in your notes to physically represent that on the page?
The lines.
Lines and
Arrows.
arrows. So make that part of your goal today too. Maybe even write a note to yourself at the top of this note page that says, use arrows again, because it's all about connecting, and see if arrows can help you do that. The last thing that you practiced yesterday was studying how ideas, events, or people are developed, and then using arrows to connect that to central idea. So today, before we leave the huddle, I'd like you to take a minute and make this almost like your personalized worksheet for yourself. You've got nonfiction, goal setting 1/26, and now underneath that, pick one of those 5 things and make it your goal for tonight's reading or your homework reading over the weekend. What do you plan to do? Orient yourself, find things fascinating, determine possible central ideas, notice embedded stories, or focus on connecting events and people. I'm going to ask you to take a minute to do that, and then we'll do our book pass.